The Wicker Man. This is an older movie. If you ain't got that much money, maybe you're not seeing these movies I'm recommending, you feel me? But if you got a library card, you can get Canopy. They have great film selections like Neon, A24. It may not be the most recent or like the newest films out, but the movies on this app are quality, and the best part is there are no ads and it's free. You get 30 tickets. I really don't dial into this app too much, and this is not a brand deal. This is just me putting you on game. The Wicker Man is a 1973 British horror movie, directed by Robin Hardy. Before we get into this movie, let's go over some characters. Edward Woodward as Sergeant Neil Howie, Christopher Lee as Lord Summerisle, Britt Eklund as Willow McGregor, Leslie Mackey as Daisy, Diane Salento as Miss Rose, Ingrid Pitt as librarian. I clicked on this movie because it was about cults. I love cult content. My girlfriend and I, we love watching stuff about cults. So the way this movie starts off with is with this police officer arriving on this island. The biggest thing about this island is that it doesn't practice Christianity. Clearly the cop is from like a Christian background. He decides to go to this island looking for this missing person named Rowan Morrison. That's his whole reason why he's out there. And when you watch this movie on Canopy, it is saved footage. So what I mean by saved footage, it means it was originally film. I believe it's 35mm film, and they revamped it, but they couldn't revamp everything. So in a weird way, it is kind of cool to see the old footage and the new footage. But I do want to tell you this much at first. At the very beginning, the beginning footage isn't that great, but keep watching. It gets better overall. I want to say about 85 to 80% of the footage is vamped to modern day standards as best as it can be. And every now and again, it fades into like the older footage, which is kind of cool too, because you get to see that older footage. But as that long cut scene draws out, you get to see the beautiful landscape. That random noise is the AC pumping, because for some reason in October it's 80 plus degrees out here. When the police officer arrives to this island, there's clearly something a lot different from this island. It seems as if everyone is in on the joke, and the joke is the police officer. The fact that he is a devout Christian is shown throughout the movie, is very evident to why he is an outsider when it comes to this movie. He's going around questioning people, and while he's questioning people, he is seeing old pagan Celtic traditions being practiced. He's very thrown off by this, and the movie does have quite a bit of singing. The singing is very jolly. I'm like, is this a musical, or is it just these people's way of expressing themselves? Maybe a little bit of both. As he's searching, he realizes he needs a place to stay because, you know, the first interaction of him actually trying to get on the island is very standoffish. Like, you're not allowed on the island, it's private property. He's like, I'm a cop, I can do whatever the fuck I want. And apparently, even in 1973, the police officers could do whatever the fuck they wanted, even if it encroached on a different person's private property. But me being somewhat versed in different types of religions, this is the practice of like an old pagan Celtic religion, meaning the religion that originated on that island before Christianity took place. There's definitely an interesting commentary on what was religion and what wasn't, because some of the people who practiced this old pagan religion on the island, they kept saying they were very deeply religious. But for some reason, the police officer's like, what do you mean religious? There's no ministers. The graveyard is low-key in shambles and kind of a joke. So he was very confused by this. And he kept like questioning why Christianity wasn't prominent on the island until he meets the rich guy who inherited the island from his grandfather. And his grandfather bought this in the late 1800s. And he decided to let the people dictate and choose what their religion was, which I found to be very interesting, especially during the times where everything was being colonized. Essentially, the colonizer was like, you know what? We're going to do what you want. So some of the things I wanted to talk about were the practices that they had been doing. Women were jumping over the fire to help with their fertility, and there was another classic thing you see during like Lammas where they're like all these ropes. Everyone has like a different colored rope, and they're all running around in a circle. As I mentioned earlier, it seems like everyone's in on the joke but the police officer. And you get this vibe throughout the entire movie. It feels as if everyone's lying, which leads you to believe, maybe if you're not outside of the scope of Christianity, that this is a cult. Or that maybe if you don't know about this specific older religion, this may be a cult. But the actors and the writers definitely portrayed that, spoiler alert, they enticed this man to come here to the island that they're on so they could sacrifice his ass in a giant wicker man. Because I kind of knew right away that the little girl was allegedly going to be sacrificed or was sacrificed. But as you're watching the movie, you are going to be thinking that the whole time as you get to meet all of the islanders and how they allegedly don't know about Rowan Morrison. Or if they do, it has very minimal and very little information on to where she went and why there are no records. It's not until the end that you find out that they lured this man here on purpose, because why sacrifice one of their own when they can sacrifice a mainlander or somebody who's not a part of their tribe, which is arguably kind of smart versus sacrificing your own. But should you be sacrificing people? Probably not, but in this movie that's what they're doing. The reason why it leads the audience to believe that Rowan was sacrificed, because in the beginning there's a missing photo of her and nobody seems to know who she is. And then eventually the police officer finds out by doing a little digging, a little studying, that the reason why that this religion sacrifices people is because last year's crops weren't fruitful and weren't providing enough for the community. And it isn't until the end he realizes that he is cooked. This motherfucker is indeed cooked. Because Rowan Morrison herself traps this man and leads him to an angry mob, minus the angriness, because they didn't seem too angry, but a mob nonetheless, ready to burn his ass alive. He pleads for Jesus, and he pleads that there's only one God. But in this case, that one God, his Lord and Savior, did not help this motherfucker. His ass got burnt alive. If you guys have any other movies that you want me to watch in regards to pagan cultures and pagan religions, let me know. I feel like Midsommar definitely got inspiration from this movie. There was certain imagery in this movie that reminded me of Midsommar. A lot of the singing scenes and a lot of the bystander scenes when the police officer was witnessing traditions being practiced. What are your thoughts? If you don't have Canopy, why don't you download it? It is a free app. I am not sponsored by them, and I got to watch this great movie, a classic movie that I'd never seen before or heard. So make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and until next time.